Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I am going to be doing a video basically giving you some of my tips and tricks and recommendations for if you ever find yourself in the position of a book slump. First things first, what is a book slump? Basically just a point in time when you've maybe been reading a lot, maybe not been reading a lot, but every book you try you can't get into, or you can't get yourself to pick up a book, nothing sounds good. It's a slump in your reading experience. I feel like to a non-reader that might sound kind of silly. It's like, okay, well then just don't. If you don't want to read, then don't. But it's not a case of not wanting to read. Like, you want to, but just nothing sounds good. We all know it's not a great feeling, it's not ideal, and I'm here to try and help you out of yours if you're in one right now. So let's get straight into it with my first tip. This is like first, very important, maybe the most important tip to me in my head. Short books. Short books, short books. I'd say if you're in a book slump and you're trying to pick up a book, keep it under 400 pages. Honestly, I'd rather say 350, but 400 maximum. Reasons for this: number one, finishing a book I think is a great way to get yourself out of a book slump, because that boost of, like, everybody knows when you finish a book there's like a boost of serotonin that you just feel accomplished and like, oh, this is so fun, I just finished this freaking book. That's like, you know, so that doesn't look good there. Let me just move that. I think that the shorter the book the better, because the quicker you get through it, the quicker you finished it, the quicker you're kind of back in the game. I'd also say that shorter books are better because you're less likely to get stuck in the middle of a book, because countless times I've been reading like a big long Empire Storms, Queen of Shadows moment, and you're at like the 400 page mark and you're right in the middle, and for some reason you just, no matter how much you read, you cannot seem to visually get past the middle. Yeah, so I think short books are great because it prevents you from getting stuck in that middle region, which even when you're in a reading mood, if you're reading a really long book and you're just visually looking at it, you can't see you moving through it when you like put your bookmark in, that can be really disheartening and put you into a book slump, in my opinion. So short books, I think very, very important. Okay, so now that we've established that, I'd say there's a couple different avenues that you could go down. Maybe try one. If it doesn't work, try the next, whatever. Number one, just take a break. There is no crime, there is no problem in just going a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month without reading. As much as it's like, I don't want to do that, I want to read, I want to do my hobby, sometimes you do just need to give your brain a minute, especially if you've got a lot going on in the rest of your life. Like, sometimes that reading a really good book when you've got a lot going on really helps, because it's like a escapism. But if you can't find a book that's giving you that, it's probably just going to pile on to the rest of whatever's going on. And maybe you don't have anything going on in your life and there's no reason for the book slump, you just so happen to be in one. There's no shame in taking a break. You're not going to forget that you love to read. You're not going to never pick up a book again. I know we probably all felt that way, and because in the moment you only know how you feel, and it sounds very dramatic, but it is a horrible feeling when it's something that you love so much. You've dedicated so much money and time to your hobby and you can't do it. You just can't do it. You will enjoy a book again, I can guarantee. I promise. Why do I keep crossing my fingers? That means I'm lying. I promise. My second tip is change your genre. I'm talking to the romance girlies. I have been there with you when we're just reading all of the fluffy, cute, fun romances. And, you know, I love myself a brother's best friend, he falls first, grumpy sunshine, fake dating, fucking lost in a forbidden house. What? You know what I'm saying? Like, these super tropey books that realistically we love them, but they are the same book, different font. every time. If you keep reading those again and again and again, you are going to get bored. You are going to get into a slump. And it's not to say that these books aren't good, that they don't have value, but they are literally fraternal twins. Like, it's inevitable that you are going to get bored. It's like watching the same episode of a TV show again and again and again. So I am specifically talking to the romance girlies, because I feel like we are probably the most likely to get into these book slumps. Or more so just from my point of view, because that's where I read the most, talking to the romance girlies. A few specific recommendations kind of based on what you like. If you're kind of more of a dark romance, maybe like an emotional romance, obviously those are two very different things, but if you like either of those kind of areas of romance, I would recommend trying a light romantasy. If you've never tried like a fantasy book before, like a light romantasy where there's a fantasy element but the romance is still the most important storyline. This is a little bit harder to recommend because most of these are series, and I don't know how I feel about starting a series when you're in a book slump. It's like high risk, high reward, because either you're gonna start it and be like, fuck this, and you've got all of these books ahead of you and it's like daunting, or maybe you get into it and you absolutely love it and then you've got 7 books to read and it's like out of your slump. Amazing. Some recommendations I have for a dark romance, emotional romance girly who's in a slump. Divine Rivals is a really good one. This is very light on the fantasy, heavy on the romance, but it's also a historical kind of situation, so nice change. I think this could be really good, and it gives you all of the romance that you want and need, but just like different and more. I think that's the thing that you're going to figure out when you get into like these romantasy books. There's more that can happen other than just them falling in love. You can have a whole other world around it, which is so fun. What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. This is more of a, sorry about that pronunciation, by the way. This is more, I don't know what genre this is, to be honest. It's, the best category would probably be historical fiction, but then there's like a very good but very light romance plot, and then there's a bit of a mystery, and then a little bit of an almost magical element. So I'm putting it in here because I think this is such a nice change from everything else I've ever read. I read this book and I was like, wow, never read anything like that, never read a plot like that. That was so good, I want more. So I think that this would be a really nice change. And also the writing in this is really good. Like, the quality of this writing, in my opinion, is really good, but it's not too much. It's not too crazy. I'm not like feeling like an idiot reading it. I didn't tell you anything about Divine Rivals. I feel like you know, but this basically is about a girl finds out her parents have passed away while they've been in Cairo, and the whole thing is that they live like half the year in Cairo and they won't ever let her come, and she's always kind of wanted to. So when she finds out that they've died, she's like, okay, I'm going to Egypt and I'm gonna find out what the fuck is going on. It's really good. This was like a 4.75 5-star moment. Really recommend. And then my final recommendation is Fable by Adrian Young. I think this is a duology. The other two, these are all duologies, by the way. See, I was trying not to recommend series, but it is hard because a standalone fantasy, like, it's hard because you just don't have the time to build the world. But I've only read the first book, so you'll be fine if you want to. This is a really fun change. This like takes place in like a kind of Pirates of the Caribbean-y type of world. She's on a ship for a lot of it, and there's like a light romance plot. This is really good. I would really recommend trying that. A nice change, and not too long. None of these books are too long. Next, for my light-hearted, you know, what kind of author am I thinking? I'm kind of thinking like the Ali Hazelwoods, the the Cassie McQuistons, the Christina Laurens, you know, like these kind of light, fluffy romance books. If you're a girl who loves that, I would really recommend trying a YA mystery. I discovered my love for YA mysteries last year, and so good. And for some, I don't know what it is, but there's a tone to YA mysteries that feels really similar to the tone in like a light-hearted romance. I don't know how to really describe it. Yeah, the reason I like a YA mystery is because I find the characters a lot more likable than an actual mystery plot or an actual like an adult mystery thriller. My recs for that, Truly Devious. This is a series, but you can read them one at a time, whatever. This is like one of my favourite YA mystery series. It takes place at like a private school academy. There's a mystery going on, obviously. You've got like found family aspects, potential little bit of romance, you know. This is a really good one, I think. I don't have the first book, but the Natural series, if you haven't heard about it, I really think you would enjoy it if you're a romance girly, because I feel like romance girlies who love a romance book and being a fan of Criminal Minds, for some reason that just goes hand in hand in my mind. That doesn't really make much sense, but I feel like it's true. I really do feel strongly that it's true. And this is like YA Criminal Minds. So good. A little bit of a love triangle. So good. Final one. These are hard because like everybody knows these books, but A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, if you haven't, you should. If you're a romance girly and you've seen these books being like talked about and you're like, that's not my genre, I really think you'll love it, and I think it'll open up a whole new world of books to you. You're going to be put in a way better position to never slump seriously again, because whenever I'm in a slumpy mood, just change my genre, I'm out of it, because I have 3 solid genres that I know that I love. So changing your genre, I think, is just key to getting out of the slump. So even though I just said I think changing your genre is key to getting out of the slump, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not working for you and you're still in your slump. That's so sad. My next recommendation would be go back to what you know. A book that you've read, that you love, that you know is a tried and true. This book, you know, read an old favourite is what I'm saying. I obviously can't really give you recommendations for that because I don't know what your favourite books are. But I can tell you what my favourite books are, what I would choose to read in this scenario, because so it's not just a thing of read your favourite books, because Magnolia Park's one of my favourite books. I probably wouldn't go to that if I was in a slump because it's very emotionally taxing. I feel like that would just be a bit much for me. Throne of Glass series, some of my favourite books. I probably wouldn't pick those up if I was in a slump. You know what I'm saying? So books that I would pick up. Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This is my all-time favourite Ali Hazelwood book, and also all-time favourite romance. So good. I just love all of Ali's books. The plot, to be honest, there's no point even describing the plot, because for me, with an Ali Hazelwood book, the plot is low-key irrelevant. I just want to read the book. This is a longer book. Consider Me by Becca Mack. This is like 500 pages, so I would be cautious about picking up a book that long. The reason for me I would pick this book up is because I've read this so many times. Sometimes I'll just flick to a random chapter, read a couple chapters, because these hockey romances, this is a hockey romance series by the way, these hockey romances are so, I always say episodic, and I don't know if that's the correct term, but it's like jumping through parts of their lives. It's not like a complete storyline. You just like see their relationship in different scenarios, which I love. So I think this is great for a slump because you're just like going back to a favourite character. I think the Addicted series could be really good for that as well, if you love the Addicted series. I don't know if I'd recommend like starting it if you don't know if you love it, but if you know you love it, definitely just pick up a book, flick to a random chapter. An Abby Jimenez book, Yours Truly. Either this one or the Happy Ever After playlist. It's right there. It's probably my favourite book of hers, but I just remember absolutely loving the couple in this book, and I feel like getting back into this would feel like a nice just comfort familiarity thing, because I feel like I remember more of this than that one. So that would be my pick. And then also Archer's Voice. This is a newer one. I read this, did I read this last like October? I'm not sure, but this is one of the more recent like favourites. Classic. Love Archer's Voice. It's just like a warm hug, and I think in a book slump maybe you do just need a warm hug. And then to finish it off, Beach Read by Emily Henry. If you haven't read this book, you need to read this book. Nothing else to it. I don't care what time of the year it is. Ideally summer, but really truly a masterpiece. This might be Emily Henry's magnum opus, in my opinion. This would be my favourites, but whatever your favourite is, definitely recommend trying that. I think that is probably a surefire way to get back into a book. And then my final tip, if that doesn't work, like, Jesus Christ, what's going on with you? I'd say read a book that has a really unique like structure / layout / like different things, almost like an adult picture book, but not really. I'll show you what I mean. So an example of what I mean by this is Daisy Jones and the Six. Maybe you've already read this, reread this would be a good one as well. But if you don't know, this is written as like interviews. If you can see that, you've got like the person's name and then what they're saying. It's like reading a documentary about a famous band. So I think that's really fun and good for if you're in a slump, because I always find when there's like letters or emails or anything in a book, I read through it so much quicker because it's not like these big chunks of text. So that's a good one. Also, oh god, I already recommended this, but A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is such a great one for this, because this is just full of like interviews, of maps, of text messages. Like this has so many different things in it, so really would recommend that one. Oh, Divine Rivals, Ruthless Vows, this duology. This has a lot of letters in it, which I just think having that like change from the paragraph format is, for some reason, it just makes it easier to read. I don't know what the science is behind that. I don't know why mentally that makes it easier for me to read, but I love when I see a page that's like a letter or an email or a picture or something. So yeah. So those are all of my like big tips, my big like section tips. A couple just like little finishing off tricks. I'd say do not be afraid to DNF a book if you're in a book slump. I think you've got to be kind of harsh when you're in a book slump. Really listen to your mind if you're enjoying it or not. Don't force yourself to read something that you don't like, because that's just going to make it worse. Hard DNF, soft DNF, maybe just put it down for later, but just listen to yourself and do not be afraid to DNF. If there's ever a time that you shouldn't be pushing through to finish a book, it's when you're in a book slump. Again, just remember, this is fun. This is your fun hobby. This is not an assignment for school. This is not something that you need to do for work. This is fun. Half of the book slump is probably the stress of trying to find another book, because you're just stressed about trying to find it. You're stressed that you're never going to find a book again. Everybody just calm down. It's not serious. It's just books. It is kind of serious though. And then I'd also say maybe try an audiobook. Audiobooks, I always feel like kind of weird about when I'm listening to an audiobook, because I feel like I miss things. It doesn't give me the same connection to a book as reading a book does. Like I much prefer reading a physical book than listening to it. But if you're in a book slump, I think even just to get you into a book, maybe you listen to the first 5 chapters on audiobook, see if you like it. You like it, you pick up the physical book, or you just listen to it, because I do think starting books can be really daunting, especially when you haven't started one for a while. So maybe start on audio if you really like it, you can pick up your physical copy, read it back and forth. I think that could be a good way to get you into it. Okay, so that is all of the tips, tricks and recommendations I have for you today. I really hope that you find some value in this video, that it helps you out of a book slump. I haven't been in a book slump for a while because I follow these tips and tricks. Every time I feel myself getting a little bit, what do I want to read next? Change the genre. Change the genre. That's the biggest tip, to be honest. Change the genre. I'm constantly changing my genre. I very rarely will read more than like 3 or 4 books of one genre back to back. Anyway, yeah. So that is going to be it. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Come again next time. Like and subscribe. Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye.